We are losing the depth of the mind in a world that only seeks speed. But before we dive in, take a moment. Subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Let's bring awareness to what truly matters. Have you ever spoken with an older person who could read entire books without distraction, do mental calculations with ease, and had the patience to truly listen? Now compare that to today's conversations. Do you notice how many people can't focus for even 5 minutes? How often do you see replies made entirely of emojis? How quickly do we jump from one video to another, one notification to the next? The contrast is heartbreaking. In 1970, thinking was a virtue. Today, it feels like a punishment. Reflecting is tiring. Reading is boring. Arguing is too much effort. We've traded depth for speed, culture for clicks, knowledge for dopamine. And do you know what hurts the most? Most people don't even realize it. They think it's normal. They think it's modern. But what we're living through is a silent epidemic. A collective dumbing down of society. 2016. The breaking point 2016 wasn't just the year everything sped up. It was the year everything became more superficial. TikTok exploded. Screen addiction became the new norm. And from that point on, the intelligence curve began to decline. In this video, you'll understand how the world that once produced geniuses is slowly dying, and how, despite having more technology than ever, our generation is becoming one of the most distracted, vulnerable, and intellectually stagnant in history. But why is this happening? TikTok emerged with one goal: to hold your attention. Then Instagram shifted from a photo-sharing app to a dopamine factory. Stories, reels, short videos. Everything became faster, flashier, more addictive, and we fell for it, like kids in a candy store. But the apps aren't the real problem. It's how they were designed. Nothing about these platforms is accidental. The infinite scrolling feed, auto-playing sounds, full-screen immersion, strategically placed like buttons, all of it engineered through psychological testing and behavioral experiments. They figured out how to give you just enough pleasure to keep you coming back for more. But here's the difference. When a rat gets tired in a lab, it stops. We don't. We scroll and scroll and scroll. Every 10-second video releases dopamine in your brain. But the more you consume, the harder it becomes to find joy in the simple things. A 300-page book, a 1-hour documentary, a quiet conversation without checking your phone. Everything starts to feel boring. And here's the cruelest part. This isn't just about entertainment. It's reshaping our brains. It's destroying our ability to focus, to reflect, to think deeply. Do you ever read a page and forget what you just read? Do you find it hard to stay on task without checking your phone every few minutes? That's not a lack of discipline. It's a side effect. We're being conditioned. The evidence. Since 2016, studies show that average IQ levels in developed countries are declining for the first time in modern history. And we're not just talking about school knowledge. We're talking about logical reasoning, memory, focus, reading comprehension. Want proof? A study in Norway found that young people born after 1995 scored 7 IQ points lower than their parents. That's the difference between understanding a complex idea and not being able to follow a basic argument. But is it all the app's fault? Not entirely. We are complicit. We willingly traded wisdom for entertainment. We chose speed over depth. We accepted distraction in place of thinking. Be honest. How often do you skip YouTube videos halfway through? How many articles have you abandoned after 2 paragraphs? How many real conversations have you had this week without picking up your phone? Our parents read books. They wrote letters. They debated politics and philosophy in person. We do dance challenges, and we're proud of it. It's painful to admit, but it must be said. We are more distracted, anxious, dependent, and yes, less intelligent than ever. Not because we lack the ability, but because we no longer use it. We're trading our brains for clicks. And the scariest part, we think this is normal. If your mind feels slower, fragmented, if you sense something is missing, it's not just you, it's real. But here's the good news. It's not too late. You just have to do something most people don't. Stop, think, reflect, say no to the algorithm, reclaim your mind. Rediscover what it means to be human. In the 1970s, we reached a peak of intelligence, not because of better genes, but because of a culture that nurtured deep thinking. Teachers earned respect, not through shouting but through wisdom. Students listened, took notes, and reflected. Books weren't just school tools, they were portals to new worlds. Young people read Camus, Nietzsche, Enrico Verissimo, Graciliano Ramos. There were no likes, no reels, no scroll. The pace was slower, and the pleasure was in the process. If you've made it this far, you're different. You're awake. So let's fight back, together. Like this video if it resonated with you. Subscribe if you believe we need more depth in a distracted world. Share this message, because someone you know needs to hear it. Let's bring thinking back. Let's bring humanity back. They could recite Shakespeare and understand the logic of algebra. And today, we have young people who can't even interpret a simple paragraph without asking ChatGPT what it means. It's not arrogance to say this. It's reality. Culture used to have power. Real power. It wasn't built on shallow, flashy stimuli. Magazines like Super Interessante or Sunday newspapers published full pages of deep essays. Radios broadcast long interviews, without jump cuts, sound effects, or background music to hold your attention. It was just a voice, a thought, a message. And the most incredible thing, people actually listened. They reflected. They discussed. They thought. Can you even imagine a 40-minute primetime TV interview today, with a philosopher discussing the meaning of life? Chances are, it'd be labeled boring, slow, or too difficult for modern attention spans. But in the 1970s, this was normal, productive, inspiring. And here's something we've completely forgotten. Silence was accepted. It wasn't strange to sit alone on a bench, in silence, just observing, thinking, reflecting. Silence was fertile. Now silence scares us. We rush to fill every empty second with a song, a reel, a YouTube short, a podcast, anything, just to avoid being alone with our thoughts. So what created that golden age of intelligence? Two things: concentration or scarcity. When the brain isn't bombarded by constant input, it creates its own. Before the internet, boredom wasn't the enemy. It was the fuel for creativity. Have you ever wondered where imagination truly comes from? It comes from stillness, from long pauses, from doing nothing. That's why so many of history's greatest minds were shaped before the information age. Their brains were trained in silence, through books, through conversation, through concentration. Back then, reading a long article, watching a full documentary, attending a class without checking your phone every 5 minutes, that was normal. From this stillness, genius was born. The scientists, artists, engineers, and inventors who shaped our modern world. They were educated in a time when logic, rhetoric, and history were taught with depth. That's why the gap between that generation and ours is so shocking. And this isn't cheap nostalgia. It's an objective comparison. While they read 30 books a year, today the average is less than 2. While they wrote letters, journals, and essays, we reply with emojis, acronyms, and auto-responses. Speed replaced depth. Ease killed effort. And the result? It's painful. We're raising a generation with access to all the information in the world, but without the mental framework to absorb it. The difference between a young person from 1971 and one today, it's not intelligence, it's attention. They had more time, more focus, more silence. We have more technology, more distraction, more anxiety. Was it worth the trade? Looking back at the golden age of intelligence isn't about nostalgia. It's about understanding what we've lost and what we can still recover. We can reclaim concentration, critical thinking, the joy of reading, deep curiosity. If the 20th century taught us how to think, the 21st is teaching us how to forget. The digital revolution and the distracted mind 2016. If the 80s and 90s were just the warm-up, the 2000s came like a stampede. The internet stopped being a luxury. It became the environment we lived in. But living isn't always the right word. For many, thinking became surviving in a jungle of distractions. Facebook launched in 2004, YouTube followed in 2005, the first iPhone, 2007. And with it, a new era began: instant access, infinite content, zero patience. The promise was beautiful, the world at your fingertips. But the reality? Grim. The more access we gained, the less depth we pursued. Before, if you wanted to know something, you had to seek it, study it, ask questions, investigate. Now, everything is pre-packaged, oversimplified, and compressed into a 2-minute video. And the worst part? No one teaches us how to handle this flood of content. We were thrown into an ocean of information, with no map, no compass, no life vest. Social media evolved rapidly. Orkut became Facebook, MSN became WhatsApp, and attention spans collapsed. By 2015, Microsoft reported that the average adult attention span had dropped to 8 seconds, less than a goldfish. Yes, a fish pays more attention than the average connected human. Why? Because these platforms aren't designed to inform. They're designed to capture your attention at any cost. Autoplay, infinite scroll, vibrant colors, addictive notifications. It's a psychological casino in your pocket, and you are the currency. During this time, researchers began sounding the alarm. Cognitive performance was declining. Students scored worse in reading, logic, and comprehension. Our brains began operating in continuous partial attention, a state where you're never fully present, anywhere. Have you tried reading something important, but checked your phone 5 times before finishing the first paragraph? Ever tried studying, but had to search for a summary video because the text felt like too much? Forgotten why you picked up your phone seconds after unlocking it? It's not your fault. It's not a lack of discipline. It's by design. Big Tech's business model is simple. The longer your eyes stay on the screen, the more money they make. To do that, they mastered the science of addiction. Variable rewards, intermittent notifications, dopamine on demand, and content. It changed too. Long-form learning gave way to performance. Now it's top 5 lists, 3-minute summaries. The secret they don't want you to know. The goal isn't to educate, it's to hook you, and the consequence, it's brutal. We are raising anxious, accelerated brains, incapable of sustained thought. Young people jump from video to video, unable to maintain an argument, let alone form a deep one. Final call to action. If you're still here, congratulations. You're not like everyone else. You're still thinking. So do what most won't. Like this video if it opened your eyes. Subscribe if you value deep thought in a shallow world. Share this message. Someone out there needs to hear it. Because if we don't fight for our minds now, we may not have them much longer. You don't have to stay stuck in the cycle. You can take your mind back, your focus, your creativity, your peace. Will it be easy? No. But since when was anything meaningful ever easy? Start small, delete just one app that drains your attention. Read one page of a book, but read it slowly, fully present. Try having a full conversation without looking at your phone once. Can you do it? Embrace boredom. It's not your enemy. It's where imagination is born. Rebuild your mind like you'd rebuild a temple, with patience, intention, and silence. Because what we're losing isn't just our ability to concentrate. We're losing our identity, our independence, our ability to live deeply in a world that's become painfully shallow. This can't go on, and it won't, if we choose to act. If this message hit home, do one thing right now. Like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Why? Because the future of our minds, and maybe even our humanity, depends on it. Remember, reality won't wait for us to catch up. The time to change is now. Are you ready to reclaim your mind? I'll see you in the next video.